There are an abundance of zombie shooters available in virtual reality. There's After the Fall, Zombie Army VR, Survive, and of course the Walking Dead games, just to name a few. Back in 2016, Arizona Sunshine was the hottest of them all. In late 2024, it got a remake, fittingly titled Arizona Sunshine Remake. After getting a fancy new facelift and new lick of paint, the question stands, does this VR game still hold up today amongst its many peers? I'm Vic in VR. Welcome back to Vic's Thoughts on Video Games. Today, I want to take some time to delve deep into one of VR's biggest contenders. This is a grand review on Arizona Sunshine Remake. Let's dive into it. After booting it up, the game hands you plenty of options to customize your experience to your personal liking. There's the option to pick between smooth locomotion or a teleportation-based system. You can adjust the various holsters on your body. Vignettes are available for those among us that get a little queasy in virtual space. Additionally, some cosmetic options are available too. You can pick your outfit and add a charm to your guns. Very charming indeed. The game then serves you its main courses. There's the campaign, the Horde Mode, and 2 additional story campaigns for us to tackle. Furthermore, the campaign and the Horde Mode are fully playable in multiplayer. You can team up with a mate and go through the entire story together, or fight off the undead with up to 3 other people in the endless Horde Mode. Although this is an absolutely amazing feature, unfortunately I couldn't make use of the multiplayer because the one friend I was able to convince to buy himself a PlayStation VR 2 was unavailable during shooting. And I could literally not find one single stranger in the online lobbies on the few occasions that I tried. Thus, we'll be taking on all the modes in single player today. Just know that multiplayer is available if you can find some willing and able bodies, that is. You're now given a set of 4 difficulty options to pick from. We're just gonna choose Apocalypse Mode, the hardest one. Why? Well, I believe that the game's mechanics and design truly comes alive when it is being tested at its and the player's limits. If a game is easier than you can handle, you won't have to engage with all the game's features to be able to make it through its content. Having to use all the resources and options available to you makes for an inherently more interesting experience, I think. And, well, B, is that I just kinda like to be tortured on a free afternoon, which self-respecting masochist doesn't. The game is absolutely beatable on the hardest difficulty, but it will be a challenge the whole way through. I got taken down so many times during my time with the game. Still, it never felt unfair, and if you're anything like me, the game shines the brightest on Apocalypse Mode. I'll be discussing every game mode today, but let's start off with the primary campaign. You wake up in a cave, snatched from slumber by a loud noise. It was one of the traps you set down the night before, and it has claimed the victim. However, one part has managed to escape the trap, and we are introduced to Arizona Sunshine's poster child. The shamblers in this game are referred to as Threat by the protagonist. We deal with Threat as we are sneakily tutorialized in the game's controls and mechanics. Stumbling out of the cave, you are introduced to the reloading mechanics and taught that you can eat food to regain health. After a quick round of gun practice, you are surrounded by a dozen threats and must defend yourself using the weapons available to you. Like any zombie classic, a blow to the brain or some lead to the head are the best courses of action. You're given some room to move around in, allowing you to dodge incoming attackers and create distance between you and your foes, all to get you up to speed with the game's combat. And there will be a lot of combat before this is over. Fights are generally confined to smaller arenas like the one you see here. Being cautious with your guns is a must as ammunition is scarce, melee weapons break after a few hits too, and you're down in a few hits as well. You'll quickly learn to be effective with what's available to you, that you must keep an eye on your surroundings at all times and to prioritize certain threats over others. Arizona Sunshine gets going straight away like this. You're immediately thrown into the story of one unnamed man's survival. There's no tutorial level that has to be passed first. Everything that you need to know is shown to you organically, right here in the first level. It also allows the game to build up its world and narrative along with it. Your character doesn't have anyone to talk to, so he'll talk to himself instead.
You happy now? Didn't have to go down like this, you know. You could have sat down, had a nice cup of coffee, talked it through, but no.
He'll give his thoughts about things he sees in the world. He'll give the player hints towards what we're supposed to be doing to progress. There's even emotional beats in this story. I like this decision, as this breathes so much more life into the world than a silent protagonist could ever have done. The tone is actually pretty upbeat for a game that is in fact a survival horror. The horror is thoroughly undermined though by bright set pieces, the constant quipping of our protagonist, and the sense that you can handle any threat as long as you've got enough ammunition. It's a bit like a horror B flick, and I can appreciate that. There are a few moments where the game got me though, like that one time a jump scare actually managed to make me jump because of the scary. We'll progress from area to area, dealing with any threats or obstacles that stand in the way. Arizona Sunshine is very old school. You go from set piece to set piece as you make your way to a level's end. During the way, you might find some goodies or some other secrets off of the beaten path. Being curious will often net you those things you could definitely use down the line, so exploring every nook and cranny is well rewarded. After dealing with the threat, you come across a man sitting lifelessly in a chair. Beside him is the first of many rifles that you'll be able to find, and some spare ammo as well. You sling it on your back, giving you 2 different firearms and ammunition types to defend yourself with. You scale a ladder, completing the first level. Climbing isn't featured a lot in this game and can only be done when prompted to do so. It's fine for what it is though, as level layouts often include some form of verticality because of the player having to climb up or down stuff. Arizona Sunshine means level-based combat and puzzles. You shoot zombies and fight your way to the level's end. It's classic stuff, nothing new, so no points for originality, but we can judge the game for how it executes upon its mechanics and story beats, even if you've seen them play out a dozen times before. And for starters, the combat is really good. Guns are your biggest friend and feel powerful and distinct. There are so many of them in Arizona Sunshine, each with different looks, sounds, and mechanics. Reloading is especially well done if you've picked the advanced reloading option in the menus. Things can get so hectic in this game, and pulling off or fumbling a crucial reload can mean life or death. In the second level, we come across an abandoned camp. Here you find some supplies as well as an old radio. It seems someone out there is broadcasting a message. Before we can figure out what it says though, the thing breaks down on us. However, having heard a friendly voice for the first time in what seems to be a very long time, you're motivated to find out who's sending out the signal in an effort not to be alone anymore. You move on from the camp and step onto a bridge filled with abandoned cars. More supplies are to be found here by opening trunks and checking interiors. It doesn't take long for things to go south though, as we trigger a horde of threats barreling down on our position. The fight is tough, but we manage to make it through the ordeal. You then stumble upon a mining camp which had been turned into an amusement park before the apocalypse happened. The owner's van has been left abandoned, as well as some automatic firepower that will definitely come in handy down the line. The path forward is blocked by an open bridge. You'll have to find a way past it. You check the office building and retrieve the car keys to the abandoned van, hoping to find something useful in there. A revolver can be found upstairs. You'll take that too. The game allows you to carry 2 sidearms in the holsters by your sides and 1 larger rifle on your back. Furthermore, you can stash items in your glove for later use. Grenades, food, and melee weapons can all be slotted into one of the two slots available here. Ammo is grabbed from the waist. The system is pretty familiar if you played a VR shooter before, and the controls feel intuitive and work just fine for the most part. Some weird design decisions and quirks will take some getting used to. For example, when you take a gun out of the left holster, the gun in the right holster will automatically scoot over and fill the empty slot in the left one. It feels off, and chances are this design choice will come to harm you during one of the more frantic moments this game has to offer. Opening up the abandoned van, you find a winch lying in the back. However, after taking it, the alarm is triggered and you prepare for another scrap with the dab. Prioritizing the runners and making good use of the good old-fashioned red barrels of boom and your newly acquired Tommy gun will help you make it through this one. There's still enough room here to funnel your enemies into its train and keep them to one side, so staying on the move will definitely help too. You use the winch to lower the bridge, then cross it to find a few more threads. They are dispatched before a loading screen pops up and you complete the second level. You arrive at what appears to be a medical camp. Military vehicles can be seen here, one of which contains a new pistol. The containment was a useless effort and no one alive is found here either. Among the remains of the camp, you find a grenade, use it to blow up an obstruction blocking the way forward, and leave the camp behind. A bit further on, a gift shop is sitting by the entrance into the mines. The mines might be a way out of here, but the entrance is locked up tight. You'll have to find a way to power up the system somehow. Checking out the gift shop, you find an automatic submachine gun, an automatic rifle, and the keys to a gate outside. You go through the gate and, following a power line that leads to a generator, flip the switch and power on the park. Flipping the switch summons a wave of threats to chase you down, but after fending them off and looting another submachine gun, you arrive back at the gift shop and open up the gate to the mines. This turns out to be a mistake. The contraption makes a massive amount of noise and attracts a humongous horde of threats who all come rushing down the mountain. Welcome to Arizona's Sunshine's first wall, because this fight is hard. The stream of zombies appears endless at times, and if you haven't been scrounging around enough for weapons and ammunition, you might run out of tools to fend them off. I had to do this part over and over before I came out on top. You make it out alive, barely, and head down into the mines. The mines are one of the few exceptions where the environment and setting actually manage to convey a sense of dread. This place is uncomfortable. It's extremely dark, requiring the use of a flashlight to even see properly, and there are few open areas where it's easiest to defend yourself. You really want to get out of here, rather now than later. Because of this, the mines in particular feel most like a true horror level. The action and combat will only get harder and harder from this point on too, making the level work on several counts. Famous horror writer Stephen King once wrote about 3 different forms of fear: gross out, horror, and terror. Gross out being outright disgust, like seeing something or someone bloody, broken, or malformed. Horror is the portrayal of something that isn't supposed to be, like an oversized spider or a supernatural entity or a walking corpse. Terror, in King's words, the greatest form, is that fear of the unknown, like stepping into a place and feeling that there's something off, like that sensation as if something is watching you from the shadows. Terror is the monster you have created in your mind, formless until the true horror is revealed, and there is no greater fear than what your mind can conjure up when it is terrified. The game has so far not made it past the first stage, gross out. The Walking Dead are horrible to look at, make haunting noises, and seem to have lost any sense of self and humanity. But the game hasn't taught you to fear them much in the open and colorful spaces outside, where the sunshine and the quips and humor undermine any sense of tension and dread that might have creeped up on the player. The mines are different from all that came before. Here, you'll feel trapped as you go down further and further through dark corridors, hiding any sort of menace just beyond the light's reach. When you do run into trouble, the environment itself seems to fight you as much as your enemy, and it's so easy to be overwhelmed here. This is spooky. This is terrifying. Let's get out of here as quickly as possible. Coming out of a long dark tunnel, you stumble upon another locked gate, blocking the way forward. You quickly head past an exhibition into an office area, once again looking for a set of keys while taking any new weapons you might find along the way. We find the keys next to a bunch of ammo and healing items. That likely means trouble ahead. And make no mistake, this game will take every opportunity to send the dead after you. You grab the supplies and the keys and are indeed ambushed by a bunch of threats. You fight your way back to the lock gate, go past, and fire up a generator, summoning even more foes. Taking them all out, you eye your way out of the mines, an old elevator out of service but likely able to be repaired. Finding the missing pieces scattered in the not-so-abandoned tunnels, you fix the machine and summon down the elevator. However, nothing is ever easy, and this triggers the biggest floods of threats you've encountered so far. This fight is absolutely brutal. All you have to do is survive long enough for the elevator to come down, but making it that far is not a small task. As always, it is imperative not to get cornered and to deal with your foes effectively before you run out of rounds. Barely surviving the onslaught, you dive into the elevator and flip the switch. You made it out for now. The next level thankfully brings you out into the daylight once more. Searching among the train wagons rewards you with a bit more firepower and a few more ambushes along with it. You head into the building, looting the place as you go about, having another arena fight on the top of the roof. Nothing you can't handle by now. A sniper rifle is positioned on an outlook, observing a train which we have to cross, and some threats we can take out from the safety of our vantage point. There's also a radio here, and you eagerly check it for the signal that's being broadcasted from someplace not far from here. You're in luck. As the signal is getting stronger, this means you're getting closer to the source. You head down the ladder onto the train, and are immediately greeted by death. And again, and again, and again, and again. Welcome to the game's most difficult fight. The problem with this area is that your biggest advantage is gone here: speed and maneuverability. You're quicker than any threat, but have absolutely no room to evade them here. You're stuck on the train's roof with no way back, with the foes coming in from your only way out towards the front. The only option is to take down every single enemy before they can get to you, and in Apocalypse mode, this was excruciatingly hard for me to do. The sniper rifle is handy to dispatch a few of them before the shit truly hits the fan, but unlike other weapons, you can't take it with you. It's only usable from its initial position. The sniping isn't implemented fantastically either, and I found I had most success using this massive cannon one-handed. Thankfully, the developers implemented a checkpoint system in the levels, so you never have to replay too much of a level for death to become a chore. Still, get ready to get handy with that rifle, because you'll be doing that bit over and over too until you pass this trial. Nothing to do but fight and press on. Looking back, the game doesn't get any harder than this point right here. If you can make it through this bit, you can make it through to the end. The fight is absolutely brutal, but you're still standing. You drop down the carriage and feel relieved to touch firm ground once again. You pass more train wagons, dealing with any stragglers along the way until reaching the outskirts of what appears to be a refinery. They must be broadcasting from there. Time to find a way in. A second sniper position appears before you, this time overlooking a train tunnel. Making advantage of the situation once more, you take out as many as you can before taking an assault rifle with you as you head into the spooky passage, looking for a way through to the refinery. You're shrouded in darkness. Again. To conserve some ammo, you swat any undead denizens with the pointy end of an axe you had stashed away. Things are going alright, for once, until you run into a massive horde blocking passage deeper into the tunnel. Luckily, there's few problems a grenade launcher can't solve. This is the only time you'll ever use the thing, so don't hesitate dropping it once you've spent the few rounds available. No reason to keep it on you and miss out on having an extra pistol or shotgun when the going gets tough. A bit further out, you spot an exit out of the passage. Fresh air. And you're right where you want to be, the refinery, where hopefully you'll finally find someone that isn't named Fred. That's another level completed, and things are still ramping up at this stage of the game. Although there's little variety between enemies, there are some things to consider while fighting Arizona Sunshine's undead horde. First, some threats are quicker and thus more deadly than their counterparts. They'll come running at you, forcing you to act fast. Some members are especially affected by whatever sicknesses caused this event, having malformed heads that will take much more damage before keeling over. Others are larger in size, which often means they're slower but also stronger than the others. This game doesn't change the cast of foes very much, but rather chooses to increase the challenge by setting up different scenarios and arenas for the player to deal with. Its greatest trick, however, is simply throwing more and more of the blasted things at you. And frankly, it works pretty well for the duration of the campaign, which isn't too long to overstay its welcome. Finally, the game tries to get under your skin with misdirection and jump scares, but it really isn't very good at doing this though, and you'll soon see through 99% of all the tricks it has to offer. Some of these will slip by you, sure, but you'll never feel totally out of control or any lasting terror afterwards. Once again, this is more of a horror-themed survival instead of a true horror experience. Over time, a certain familiarity develops with the zombies. They just never seem to stop coming, they never change or adapt their behavior. You start to see them as the protagonist does, a familiar, almost predictable phase in an otherwise empty world. No wonder he refers to the foul dead as Fred. It's the closest thing to companionship in existence for this character. His loneliness is really only exacerbated by the endless supply of them, and his quest to find anyone to talk to that doesn't run back is a believable and grounded story in a video game that could just as well have been an empty, stupid action flick. It's time to take a look at that refinery. Night has fallen by now, and as you approach the place, you notice a military camp has been set up. Vehicles have been left abandoned here too, including a tank. A bit foreboding, but never mind that. You try to keep your spirits up as you head deeper into the camp. Still, you haven't spotted anyone alive yet. The outskirts are overrun with threats. When you arrive at the entrance to the central areas, the door is locked. That means there's still hope. A switch is nearby. You pick up some military firepower as well. Just as well, because the very moment you flip the switch, the dead come rushing in once more. You fight them off for as long as it takes for the door to open. You dash in and manually shut it closed to stop your attackers from apprehending you. The door closes and you deal with the stragglers who manage to slip by. You're in. You take in your surroundings. Things are quiet for a moment. Too quiet. Where is everyone? It doesn't take long for your fears to come true. Threats are inside the compound as well. This place is lost. You're still all alone out here. I like the foreboding atmosphere in the environmental storytelling here. I like how the protagonist is choosing to ignore the obvious. This place is doomed. No one is here. And doesn't give up hope until the truth is set to bite him in the face for it. I like how angry he gets, the frustration he feels when there's another locked door in his way.
Of course, this thing needs a key card. Hey, door! You need a key card? Fine!
This is no Hollywood movie, sure. But I think the main campaign is able to tell the tiny, grounded story well enough through the environment and narration. And this part right here made me interested in giving this lonely man some company, some hope to look forward to. For a simple zombie shooter, it actually managed to pull me in. You retrieve a keycard, open the door, and head inside. Threats are everywhere, not a single being has survived this place. You approach a fortified position where you notice a Gatling gun installed near one of the sandbanks. Time for some payback. This section is good fun. Unlike the other fights, where moving around is your best bet, this arena gives you a place to defend. With slight spin on the usual combat, the amount of enemies all coming from the same angle, and the insane power of the Gatling gun, it's just stupid fun. This thing will be empty before it's over too, so you'll have to adapt your strategy at some point to survive this one. After the smoke clears, you try to gather your thoughts, but you're tired. Tired from the disappointment, the threats, the misery. You find a place to lie down for the night. Morning comes. You're still nowhere, with nowhere to go. Still alone and now lost. You press on beyond the refinery, looking for something, anything really. What you find is an overlook to a trailer park. Taking yet another sniper rifle, you clear out any visible threats and head down to investigate. Inside the park, you come across another radio. Not hoping for much this time around, you turn it on, looking for the broadcast that drew you here. It's still there. And you can make out some words this time. Arizona. Sunshine. This message was not being sent from the Refinery, but from the small town of Sunshine. You have a new destination. Maybe all of this wasn't for nothing. You head past the trailer park, only to find the way towards Sunshine is blocked by rubble. The locals had already prepared some explosives, but were hit by the infection before they could get the job done. You need to find the explosives and clear the way yourself. The trailer park is a pretty open-ended level compared to the other ones. The 3 explosives you need are scattered about the park, hidden in the abandoned homes. You collect the explosives, set them up in the rubble, and press the button. Then, nothing happens, because you apparently have to stuff them further into the wall. Okay, so you do that, hit the button again, and boom! You fight off any threats coming through, and set off towards Sunshine. You're nearly at the end of the road. The next level sees you arrive at the town, where there's threats around, but at least the inhabitants have set up defensive positions. A good sign. The objective is simple. Make your way through the town towards the source of the signal. Loot everything not nailed down. Don't get eaten. You've done this before by now. This place is completely overrun, but you do find signs that the locals have managed to escape the town. If you follow the route, you might be able to track them down. Making your way through an infested motel, you reach the outskirts of Sunshine. Following the tracks to a nearby farm, your hope dwindles as you realize you still haven't found a living soul, until you spot the Sunshine radio tower. The final stretch. This is it. On arrival, you notice the gate is left wide open. No one is responding to your calls. You cautiously enter the building, go up the stairs, and open the door.
What the fuck? No way, no fucking way. Fuck.
Still, you are all alone. Then, you hear a voice.
What's your position? Over.
Yes,
Someone heard your plea. They're coming to help you. Survive for just a bit longer, and you're no longer alone. You make your way to a clear area right beside Sunshine Radio. Setting yourself up for one final showdown, you fortify your position and check your weapons. The last task: survive until help arrives. Let's do this. The final fight sees an endless supplies of threats come barreling down on the player's position. Use all the tools, weapons, and ammo available here. The time to be conservative has passed. This fight is brutal, but there is no final boss or twist here, and compared to some areas that came before, this arena is much more favorable. A helicopter arrives. You wave them down. A rope is lowered. Your ticket out of there. Scrambling to take hold, you fight off the remaining threats in your path. You grip the rope. You're lifted up, high into the sky. Safety, companionship, and beer awaits. And that's the main story complete. The game has no epilogue, instead choosing to immediately cut to the end title and roll in the credits. Let's take a moment to reflect though. The combat is intense and some of the animations are absolutely brutal. The way some threats just won't go down even after extreme amounts of damage is just terrifying to me. Their screams and erratic movements will keep you on edge, and even if the fear factor is diluted after taking out 2,000 of them, they're still intense and gruesome many hours in. There are so many weapons in this game, I couldn't even keep track. The melee weapons are the least well defined, all of them are single-handed variations. Still, there is a lot of diversity between them visually, and some have better reach in handling than others. Don't like the crowbar, really love the machete. Compared to other titles such as The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, the melee combat did feel a little weak. It isn't the focus of Arizona Sunshine, so it gets a pass, but once you get the hang of using an axe or shovel, it becomes almost silly. The biggest draw here are the firearms, of course. If you explore the levels thoroughly, there are so many to find that you might not even have time to fire a shot before you find the next one. All of them are well designed and implemented. Shooting and reloading feels engaging and tactile. If you're on the PlayStation VR 2, the game makes good use of the haptic triggers to make it even more so. The shotgun is once again the standout for me. This thing will get you out of any tight spot. A few things hold the shooting mechanics back though. We've discussed the janky way your holsters work, with guns magically flying from one to the other. Some two-handed weapons have the place you grip the front of the weapon a bit too close to the magazine, so when you grip it wrong in a hectic situation, you might just pull out the mag by accident. Also, the two-handed weapons are often used better with just a single hand, which feels pretty weird. I mentioned the sniper rifle, but really any weapon that does not have fully automatic fire is much easier to wield and be accurate with if you only use your dominant hand. The rapid fire weapons tend to get too much recoil when you do this though. And hey, it does look kinda cool, right? You can even dual wield weapons in this game. I did not end up using that very much though. Ammo is too scarce to miss half your shots, and you need to be able to reload quickly when your back is against the wall. The addition of grenades and molotovs is appreciated too. Explosives are effective and satisfying, and as a nice gesture from the devs, the player cannot be hurt by the explosions they cause. Drop a grenade on your feet and you basically have an instant 3-meter shield in all directions. One little silly thing is how the controls work with these. The grenade has to be held in one hand and then you pull the pin with the other. The Molotov cocktail is held in one hand, but then you press a button on the same controller to light it. Because of this, I didn't figure out how the Molotov worked until much later in the game. Also, if grenades could be used with just one hand too, it would make them much easier to wield in combat. Just a weird little discrepancy in the design here. Cabinets, doors and boxes can all be opened. You'll often find precious ammunition, healing items, maybe a new gun, or maybe even a little hidden joke. These levels are well crafted and meant to be taken in fully. I like how the environments tell stories of their own and how they all try to extract different feelings from the player. The levels have a lot of set pieces that make them memorable and charming. There's always just one main path to follow, but the game does allow and reward players to go out of the way to explore. One thing I did struggle with was the geometry. Sometimes the steps seemed perfectly fine to walk up or down on, but the character just would not budge. Sometimes I would get stuck in some object, the screen would turn black, and the game would just not allow me to move using the joystick before I moved my hat in a way that felt unnatural and janky. If this happened in a fight, it would usually mean a game over. The atmosphere is actually rather weird. It is clearly a horror setting with deformed zombies, spooky places, and lots of blood. But somehow the game keeps a light-hearted tone during the first half with the quipping and the sunny environments. During the second half, things get a bit more grim and the story and the environments reflect this. It's darker, more moody. This game is a tense experience, but I never really felt frightened or out of control like some other titles have made me feel. There would have been room for that in here, sections where the focus was on making the player feel small and unable to deal with what's coming ahead. Still, I think the tone is fine as it is. Like I said, if you've ever watched a good horror B movie, like let's say the Resident Evil films, you'll have a good sense of what the atmosphere is like in Arizona sunshine. I actually like the tiny story. It's small, the world is already gone to waste, and you're just trying to make it through the day. You're all alone out here when you realize that you might not have to be anymore, and you set out to find a fellow human being. It gives a simple but effective reason for you to be and travel through this world the way you do. I do kind of wish there was a slight epilogue, some affirmation that the character's struggle for a companionship is now over would have been very welcome. Until the game flashed the title and basically said, "Well done, yeah, you did it, mission complete." I was kind of waiting for the moment for this all to go wrong for our unlucky protagonist once more. I completed the main story in about 5 hours. You might be a lot quicker though, because I was stuck on a few bits for a while. The mine elevator scene, the roof of the train wagon, and the Gatling gun shootout come to mind here. The main campaign is a VR must-play, I think. Now, I have never played the original, and I can't say how the game looked, felt, or played 9 years ago, but the remake has made a fantastic effort of bringing all its mechanics, its visuals, its systems into the current age. Arizona Sunshine Remake can still contend with the rest of its peers. Of course, we have more content left still. Let's take a look at the 2 additional story campaigns. The Damned starts off with us playing as a new character, a soldier named Liam. He is sent on a mission together with his squad to supply power to a dam that has now been overrun by the infected. Upon arrival, their truck crashes out and Liam is the only survivor. He is called upon by his superior to continue the mission solo, as it is imperative for the army's success against the undead threat for him to complete the objective. Reluctantly, he makes his way out of a tunnel and onto the dam. The Damned's gameplay loop is familiar by now. Loot, shoot zombies, no bodies. The pace is much quicker, however, as everything is turned up to 11 from the get-go. You arrive at the dam within minutes of starting, are immediately met with dozens of threats and barely any ammunition to hold them off. Exploring isn't optional anymore, you need any advantage you can get. It's daylight and the level is pretty open. Finding your way through shouldn't be too much of a problem. As you make your way across the dam, gearing up while doing so, you find an elevator ready to take you down into the bowels of the structure. The pace shifts. You're now walking through dimly lit corridors. It's tight, narrow, and like being trapped in a maze. No healing items are to be found, so if you get into a scrap, like I did, you'll be on low health for a while to come. For a moment, the game even veers back into terraform as it starts to playing with the lights and dangles you over endless pits. Liam is also not as creepy as the main story's protagonist and doesn't feel as in control of his situation. This section is pretty tense. Finally, you make your way to a storage area and are met with sunlight once more. The tone lightens up, but the gameplay remains relentless as the arenas are still very tight and enemies are often blocking your only escape route. The office sections include the most difficult fight of the Damned campaign, reminding players of their time on the train's roof in the main story. You're once again stuck in a corridor with no room to move around your enemies. Mercifully, this one is a bit longer, giving you some time to deal with the incoming threat. Finding another elevator, you head deeper into the facility. You're tasked with activating 4 generators to restore the power. An interesting section, as the point is not to defeat all the enemies, but to reactivate the generators as quickly as possible and then make your escape. After you do, it doesn't take long for you to reach the control center. You switch the system back on. Mission complete. Now, you just have to get out of here. You make your way towards an exit, dodging threats left and right. There's too many to fight, and all you can do is run for your life. Sprinting all the way, you spot sunlight. A dead end. It's too high to jump. Liam can't swim. Evacuation isn't coming. You make a last stand against the incoming horde when you hear a loud noise and something approaching in the distance. Thus concludes the Damned campaign. One more story for us to witness. Let's move on to Deadman. This time around, you play as Corporal John Dodson. You've been tasked with detonating a nuclear missile, as the outbreak can no longer be contained at this point. You're dropped off on the premises of the bunker containing the nuclear device. You'll go in alone, activate the missile, then escape via a truck waiting for you on the other side. First up is entry. As always, the only way in is locked and you'll have to find a set of keys again while fighting off the threats. Nothing new. What is new is Deadman's unique style of combat arenas. You'll often have to defend a position for a specified amount of time before you're able to move on to the next part of a level. Here, you'll have to wait until the elevator makes it all the way up, like in the mines. Going down into the facility, you'll have to make use of the flashlight once more. After fumbling about in the dark for a bit, you manage to activate the power. You summon a minecart towards your position to get you into the silo where you'll fire the nuke. Here, you'll end up in a pretty tough battle where you wait for the damn thing to come over there. Inside the silo, you find the control panel. You smack the big red button. A timer appears. 2 minutes to make it out of here in one piece. This section is similar to the final part of the Damned. Run and don't look back. During your escape, you sprint past the missile just as it is launched. Not great, but you're still kicking. Your getaway vehicle is no longer an option, however. Time to find one final key to unlock the gate leading out of the facility. After making it out of the frying pan, you arrive at a familiar location. The Refinery we visited in the main story. One final push. We find our comrades by the huge door leading into the compound. We're allowed entry, but not before we clear the way. Fighting the last battle together with the man up on the rampart, you deal with the threats before gaining entry. You're safe, if only for a moment. It's too late for you. You're infected. Only one option remains to protect the greater good.
I'm sorry.
Let's take a look to reflect on the additional DLC campaigns. It took me about 2 hours to complete the Damned and about 1 hour to complete Deadman. There are actual story elements here that build upon the main campaign's narrative. I like how we view this world from the perspective from additional characters with their own goals. I like how the last mission turns out to be a prequel to the main events. However, some opportunities have been missed here. For starters, no new enemies appear during these two new stories. The difficulty has definitely been increased, but there aren't many new tricks the game has up its sleeve by this point. Everything feels rather familiar. Right at the beginning, you are at your weakest again, armed with just a pistol. It doesn't take long to build up your arsenal again though, and the worry whether you have enough ammo to survive dissipates quickly. There are a few new weapons that cannot be found in the main game. A nice addition. Also, it's a strange choice to have both of the new perspectives be from the military point of view. In my mind, these campaigns already sort of blend together. It would have been a nice chance to include an entirely different character in an entirely different setting, but we're left with two rather similar stories about duty and sacrifice. I appreciate the extra content for the short burst of fun that it is though. If you like the main game, you'll find a few extra pieces of story here that will go down just as smoothly. Finally, let's discuss the Horde mode. This is an entirely different game mode involving no story and arcade mechanics. Think Call of Duty Zombies mode, although quite simplified by the standards of the newest entries. This is where the replay value is at. There's so much fun to be had trying to see how far you can make it before you inevitably fall before the endless horde. Each of the 4 levels available for Horde mode have their own flavor, but the basics remain the same. Survive wave after wave of enemies, either alone or with up to 3 friends. It's also basic, yet so much fun. This is the mode where I'll come back to time after time. The first level is the most basic. You're stuck in an area no more than 10 by 10 meters and have to defend the position from all angles. Every couple of waves, new armaments appear in the yellow boxes scattered about, replacing the previous ones. It's tiny, without a lot of room to move, but does make for good target practice. The second level is a part of the trailer park level from the main campaign. Lots of room to move around here, but also lots of dead ends to get stuck in. Weapons appear after every couple of waves without replacing any old ones. A very good map. The third level is the layout from the elevator fight, also from the main campaign. It functions much like the trailer park map, except it's extremely dark and it uses a different weapon pool. The fourth level is my personal favorite and brings back good memories from playing Kino der Toten back in Call of Duty Black Ops 1. You start off in a small area but are able to unlock doors and blow up barricades to expand the level bit by bit. Weapons are already scattered across the map, you don't have to advance in waves to make them appear here. I like the last one so much because it brings out all the best of the hectic combat. There's wide open spaces to dodge and funnel threads into a train. Need ammo? You'll likely need to head into the building where it's all cramped and tight. Best of both worlds, all in one package. Let's discuss some minor points. Trophy hunters rejoice. This game contains an attainable platinum trophy, available for those that can claim every achievement. The most trouble to be had can be found in the multiplayer components. You'll need 3 people to complete at least one of them, and finding 3 willing souls is no easy feat. There's a lot of repetition in Arizona Sunshine. About an hour into the story, you've seen every mechanic, every enemy type, and every chick in the book. If the game doesn't hook you in that first hour, it's all just more of the same. There are so many weapons in this game and so few opportunities to use specific ones. That grenade launcher, didn't see it again after the bit in the tunnel, including the Horde mode. Speaking of, it's such a shame that there's no randomization in the weapons you get there. It would have been much more interesting if the game cycled between the many weapons available in the files. Instead, you're always presented with the same ones. All in all, This game was quite a roller coaster ride for me. The first time I bought and played it, it just kinda missed the mark for me and I gave up just over an hour into it. Making this video motivated me to examine it more closely and give it another go. I'm glad I did, because I think Arizona Sunshine Remake does hold up in 2025. Sure, it's much of the same. Some newer VR games did some parts better. However, a package like this is hard to be found. Everything in here clicks fine, even if it does leave some things on the table. It's short enough, under 7 hours for the story mode, if you're the explorative type, like me. The Horde Mode value lasts as long as you think it's fun. If you do have mates who are able to take on a campaign or the Horde Mode together with you, you're in for an even more special treat. If you can, give Arizona Sunshine Remake a go. It can bite, but it can't hurt. Developed by Videogames and released in 2024, Arizona Sunshine Remake is available for PlayStation VR 2, MetaQuest, and Steam. Like always, all footage was recorded on the PlayStation VR 2 version. Like the show? Do let me know. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments because I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, subscribe for more content down the line. Boy, this was quite a long one, wasn't it? I chose a slightly different approach than usual. I hope you enjoyed it. It was good to have you. Thanks for watching Fixed Spots on Video Games. Take care and see you next time. Oh, come on.